Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. What up, YouTube? My name is Tiago Duarte, and welcome to another live stream here at dailybeats.pt. And this is the producer show, so we have another nice, what's the word that I'm looking for? Starting really well. I don't even have words to start this live stream, but yeah. So today I have a couple of questions, I think around 5 or 6 questions to answer here. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool live stream. If you are joining us, go ahead, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. That really helps with growing the channel and supporting here the channel, and it's free, so there's no extra effort in your side. So just a like will help tremendously, just to let the YouTube know that you like the content and that it really helps you. So a little bit about these live streams. This is the producer show. If you are just joining, first of all, if you are joining and seeing the live stream, you can just leave a hi in the chat. Just let me know if you are watching, so that we can interact a little bit. The idea of the live stream is so that we can interact, and I can have some of your questions and help you speed up your learning process with these videos here. So the idea for this live stream is basically that. Just to get some questions and answer them in videos here, so that I can help you speed up your learning process, so that you become a better producer faster. And yeah, so my English today is not the best, I see. So I have to get warmed up, I guess. These live streams, I will be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT+2, which is the Berlin time. So I'm located in Stuttgart, Germany. So you can always go and reference or check the differences in the time zones compared to you, so that you know whenever I'm doing these live streams. And yeah, you can post your questions in the chat. And I also have a couple of questions here already prepared beforehand, and those questions come either from my YouTube channel, some of the comments, or also from the newsletter that I have for specifically for this live stream, which I have a link in the description, so you can go and subscribe. I will not be sending any products or marketing material. Will be just a form so that you can post your questions. So this is free of marketing stuff, free of products, and you will get mostly one email a week every Friday, so that you can ask your questions or post your questions in the forms, so that before I start the live stream, I gather some of the questions and answer them here in this live stream. So that's it. Before we start, I have a couple of, before we start with the questions, I have a couple of, not a couple, I have here a recommendation that I would like to do. And I started to do this, I think, in the 2 weeks ago or something like that, where I did some free plugins, where I showed some of the free plugins that I like and that I found in the magazine, the Beat magazine. Today I went to see if there was another instance of the Beat magazine, or a new issue of the Beat magazine, and I think there was not. So I was not sure if it was, so I didn't bought it because I didn't want to have two. So I have to go back into my magazines and check if I already have that issue. But yeah, basically that's it. I have here another plugin that I really enjoyed. And I don't use it nowadays too much, but I used to use it when I didn't have money to buy extra plugins, or the third-party plugins that I wanted. And at the time, this was a really cool plugin to have, and I used it in pretty much every track that I did. And that plugin is Ferric TDS. So let me jump to FL Studio so that I can show you the plugin, so that you can take a look and see if you would like this plugin. This is a compressor / saturation plugin, and it's called Ferric TDS. And as you can see, it's a really cool plugin, has some really cool UI. Actually, all the plugins from this company or from this developer are really cool, and they are all free. So I strongly recommend you go ahead and download them, because you can really have some great plugins here. So as you can see, we have the dynamics, and we have here some type of gain reduction. Then we have here saturation also, that we can see how much saturation we have. And I guess this is overall the output volume that we have, or this voltage meter or view meter. And then we also have a limiter. We have the on-off, bypass and on. We can have a modern or a classic compressor or saturation. I'm not quite sure, because in the documentation there is not too much. As you can see, this is the page from Variety of Sounds of Sound, and I really like this developer. He has a lot of plugins that I really enjoy, and I think it's always good to give a shout out when the thing is good. And here, tape dynamic simulator. So sometimes it's hard to get some tape saturation plugins. And this, I think it gives us a little bit of that saturation, especially here with the saturation. So I used to use this this plugin in all my masterings, and all the tracks that I would do would have this plugin there, either in a single insert or in the master bus. So I strongly recommend that you go ahead and download the plugins. I will have the link in the description so that you can download it. I think, yeah, you can see download here, and they have a bunch of them. So they have this Boot EQ MK2 is also a good one. I will talk about this one later in a future live stream. I talked about this nasty VS or nasty DLA, which is a delay. A really cool delay plugin, and here it is, the Ferric TDS. If you don't find it here, I will probably put a link in the description so that you can go ahead and find it, so that you can download it. Okay, so that's it for my what's the word that I'm looking for? Public service announcement, I guess, just to give you some information about free plugins that I like, that can really help you take your productions to the next level. Because there are a lot of plugins that you might think you want from third parties, but at the end you might not use them. For instance, I have a bunch of plugins from Waves, and I use maybe like 3 of them. So I like to use the compressor. I like to use one of the compressors, which is the C1, I think. I like to use the C4. I like to use the Ultra Maximizer sometimes when I'm producing, so that I don't clip. And then I use the Kramer Tape Stereo and the Linear Phase. So maybe 5 plugins. And I have maybe 80 or 90 plugins. So sometimes you might think you want a bunch of plugins, but at the end you don't use them. So we have to always be careful. And this is a plugin that I strongly recommend. If you don't have the money to buy more expensive plugins, you can go buy with, at least in the beginning, like I did, you can just go buy with this type of plugins. And generally, you will find plugins that are free. Usually they don't sound that great, but this one, every plugin from Variety of Sound, I think they come with a really cool high quality, and I really enjoy that. Okay, so let's start with the questions here. I have a question from the YouTube comments from let's see. The question is a little bit hard to understand, but let me read the question so that I can maybe try to answer some or I do my best to answer this question. So the question is, when I transform a VST other than the FL Studio into WDP, for example, some contact library, its timbre gets short, support, etc. I mean, it doesn't look the same as the original. Is there a way to solve this? Okay, so Let's go to, let's see if I can. Sometimes it's hard to understand the questions because the English is not the best. So I strongly recommend, if your English is not the best, go to Google Translator, put in your own language, and then translate to English. Sometimes it's way better to do that than just randomly put some English, or put your English level there. Sometimes it's better to use just Google Translator from your language to English, because that really help to clarify the question. I do that with German, and most of my emails, I'm a little bit ashamed of that, but most of my emails in German are all from Google Translator, and they do Google Translator nowadays does a pretty good job in doing a correct translation. So, and German is not the most easy language to work with. So let's jump into FL Studio so that I can show you around. So let's go to the channel rack, and let's bring the where is it? Sampler, the direct wave. I think this video was for direct wave. So in the question, there's no reference to direct wave, but I think it was in the direct wave video that I did, or the crash course that I did. So sometimes I think there's an option here to load the plugins. Let me see if I can find it. I think there was an option that we could just bring and do. Let me see. Let me right click here. I'm not sure if I can find this right now, but I would have to go ahead and see the what's the word that I'm looking for, the one of the FL Studio tutorials to see if I could find these. But yeah, let's try to load some samples, and let's go here. Where can I find some samples? I think I have some samples that I was working with, instruments. Let's see. Yeah, this will not. Let's try with one of them, one of these pianos. Let's go with the keyboard. Let's load these in here. Why it's not? Okay, let's see if I can load these into the channel rack. I think this is a direct wave. Yeah. Okay, so let's delete that one. Okay, so now let's select all the samples. I don't know if it's possible. Looks like it's not possible. Okay, so is there a way for me to, let's expand this. Let's make this a little bit larger so that we have a little bit more space to work with. So I was thinking that one of the things that you can play around with is the envelope. So if I play one of the notes here, they play okay. Let's see if we have an envelope section here. Let's go to main, gain, panning. I'm not sure if I will be able to answer that. So we have here the amplifier, and we have this envelope. So let's make the release really short. So as you can see, or as you can hear, if I play around with the release, the attack, decay, sustain, and release of the amplifier, which is the output level, you see I get some of these short notes. And I'm still, as you can see, I'm still clicking on the note here. And whenever I let go, the note becomes white again. So I'm clicking on the note, and you can see that we have now a very short instrument, or a very short piano, which actually sounds really cool. I could be able to do a bit with this, and actually I'm getting some ideas, but yeah, that's not the point here. You can control the envelope here with this section here. So let's put the sustain all the way up. So the sustain controls how long it's going to, or what's the volume at which the note will stay after when you press the note. So if I put all this down, let's put here in the middle maybe. If I put the sustain all down, you see that the note goes down fast, even if I have the note clicked. But if I put the sustain all the way up, the note will continue until the sample itself goes away. And then we have also the release. So the release will control how long it's going to play the note when I let go of the note. So when I release the note, this will tell me, this knob here will tell me how long it's going to take until the note goes to 0. So if I do a very short I don't know the word. If I just click a little bit and I do a very short time of the note clicked, you get this. But if I increase the release, you see I'm continue doing the same short press of the key, but the note goes a little bit longer. So if I make this shorter, you see, so you can control the attack. You also have controls here for the envelopes, but here in the amp, that's where I would go first to see what's going on with the short. If the sounds become very short, could be that you have a very short release and a short sustain here. And as you can see, the timbre is the same, but the notes are very, very short. So that would be my first guess. And sometimes it's hard to give you some tips and explain you or try to take or to give you some answers to your questions, because I don't have your setup and I don't know what you are going through. So it's kind of hard for me sometimes to give you some of the tips, but this or to answer some of the questions. But this is the first thing where I would go, is to check the amplifier on the zone. And this works for pretty much every zone here, every program. So you don't have to specifically click on any note or select a note to get this zone here. So I would go to zone, amp, and then check here the attack, delay, sustain, and release, and see if they have cool or the parameters are correct. Okay, let's go here. Here I have some comments here in the chat from Jan Mike. I think that's how you pronounce. Jan Mike, my guy, what's up? What are we doing? I'm doing well. What about you? Thanks for letting us know that you are here in the chat. What are we doing? I'm guessing you are asking if everything is fine. Yes. Today I'm doing the live stream again with which I'm answering some of the questions. So if you have some questions regarding music production, depending on the topic, just let me know in the chat and I will do my best to answer them. So the idea of these live streams is called the Producer Show, a Q&A. It's to get all of your questions and then answer the questions here with video so that I can help you speed up your learning process and become better producers faster. Because as you know from my YouTube channel, the banner says master the software, so that is just you and music. And that's basically my thing in terms of music, or with this channel, is to help you guys master the software so that it's just you and music. And I think that's a great feeling. But thanks for the shout out in the chat. So if you have any questions, just let me know and I will do my best to answer them here in the chat. So let's go to the next question that I have here. And the next question is, what's the best way to slice samples in FL Studio? So there's one good thing that I like about FL Studio is that you can do the same thing in multiple ways. So you can have several ways to do the same thing in FL Studio, and that gives you a lot of flexibility when you are making, when you are doing your, or when you are working with the DAW. And knowing all of those all of those methods really gives you a lot of flexibility when you are producing. So let's say, let's jump into FL Studio so that I can explain you. So let's say that you have here a pattern, and you created some stuff here. It's empty, but the idea here is, let's say you want to rename this pattern. It's called pattern 1. If I go here, I click on the menu there, and we have here rename and color. And you can see that we have F2. So if I go here, by the way, let's do that. Let's do rename and color. Let's call this renamed. Okay. And you can see now it's called renamed. If I click on F2, it gives me another thing, and I will put renamed. If I now clicked on Shift and right click, it goes up again, and I call now renamed. And if I click on the mouse wheel, there's a button usually. If I do this, we get another thing. So you see that we have 4 different ways to do the same thing in FL Studio, which I really enjoy. And it's one of the best things that I like about FL Studio, is that you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to do stuff. So going back to the sample thing, let's have a clean one. The way that I like to do the way that I like to work with samples is using SliceX. And let's open up SliceX here. We have SliceX. Another thing that I like to use, or you can use, not that I like, but you can use, is Fruity Slicer, which is kind of the same principle of SliceX, but it has a little bit less, how can I say, it's a little bit harder to work with. And yeah, I wouldn't use this one too much. If I were to choose, I would choose SliceX every day of the week, because it's a little bit more advanced and easier to control. So let's bring some samples. Let's go here. Let's go to drums, and let's do loops. Where are loops? No, let's go loops, and let's bring a simple sample here just to get an idea. So as you can see, by the output that they gave us, FL Studio gave us, we have both the same thing for all of both the SliceX and Fruity Slicer. They gave me the same result. So one thing that I like to do is, not that I like to do, as you can see, they would give me the same slice components. So we have here, let's listen to this one. As you can see, it's pretty much the same slices, but here it's a little bit harder for me to control. So to check or to move the slice back and forth is really hard to do. So as you can see, we can have this. We can still split the sample. So if I go, let's say in this point here, at this point I want to split the sample, I could go here and split it. There's also this copy to audio clipboard, which is really cool. Let's say that I can copy this, and I can go to the sample, and can I paste this? No, I can't. Maybe I would have to do something else with the sample, but yeah, you can copy samples, then maybe put them in Edison or something like that. But here in SliceX, as you can see, I still have the same slices for the sample, but I have way more control. I can zoom in, which I cannot do zooms here in the Fruity Slicer. I can go, let's take the auto dump. I can go really into the sample and really make the arrangement or the selection that I want. Let's say that I want it right there. I can go really precise into the point where I want to do the sample. I can have specific regions for specific envelopes for every single slice that I have. I think SliceX is a way more advanced plugin in terms of slicing. And yeah, I mean, it's a I would use this one all the time instead of this slicer. And I think I don't know. To be honest, I don't see too much future in this one in slicer, fruity slicer, and I see a lot of future in slice X. So if I were ImageLine, I will probably discontinue this sometime in the future, but I guess some people still use it. But yeah, I would recommend to only use slice X. Is more advanced, has more features, and it gives you way more functionalities. The third method that I would use is to go here, drag it into the playlist, and just slice it. So you can just go ahead. If you click on Shift and Alt GR, you can move outside of the grid, and you can go, let's say that I want to slice there, that I want another there, and another there. Let's say that I just want all of those samples. Let's, by the way, cut here. Okay, so I don't want that, neither that. So now I could go here and start making my own drum pattern. So let's make this shorter. So as you can see, it's really easy to slice things up in FL Studio, and it's really, really cool. You can but I would use either the playlist, but I kind of prefer to use the patterns here. Let's go here. I kind of prefer to use the groover, or not the groover. The groover is the name of the of the loop. But I prefer to use slice X because I can pitch, I can apply envelopes, which I cannot do here in the playlist. But still, you can go here and change the pitch here of the sample. And you can even put like different modes to get different types of stretching. And this you cannot do with slice X. So there's always pros and cons regarding this type of ways to sample stuff, but it also depends on what you are looking for. So for drums, I usually go for slice X, but as you can see, this gives you also a really cool feature here in terms of time stretching in the modes that you use. This can give you a different vibe of the samples. And as you can see, you would not guess that this would came from here. So this actually gave a different vibe to the loop, which I really like. Okay, give a little bit of swing. Let's make this a little bit. So as you can see, this sounds a little bit better, and it's a different loop or a different type of drum. So a way to mask that that you are using sample drums would be to use this time stretching with these different modes, and you can go ahead and experiment with different modes. So I think that's it for this question. So let's see what we have here from Mike. There's this plugin Morphine. I think it's awesome, but it's kind of hard to use. Any points on this? Let me see what plugin is it. Morphine, VST. Oh yeah, okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can use this. Where do I find this? Where do I find this plugin? Okay, here it is. I think I have done a tutorial on this. Let me check really fast on my YouTube channel. I think I have a tutorial on Morphine. Let me check. Yeah, So I have no, actually I have a harmless crash course, but I don't have morphine. That's a good one. Yeah, I know it's this plugin is kind of hard to use, to be honest. But let me switch to FL Studio so that I can show you. Yeah, this plugin is a little bit hard to use. Uh, I think you would be more what's the word? Be more served or well served if I do a crash course like I did. For instance, I have some series in my channel where I do crash courses. So let's do crash course. And you see that I have FL Studio, I have Citrus, GMS, 3x Oscillator, FPC, Flex, SliceX, Direct Wave, Harmless, but I do not have one for Morphine. So what I think I will do a crash course just for Morphine, because then you can have a better idea of the thing. Because if I talk about this in like 10 or 5 minutes, you will not get the same depth as the as a crash course on this one. So yeah, thanks for the recommendation. I will keep it here. Let me just save this really quickly on my notes so that I don't forget to do this. Okay, yeah. But thanks for the recommendation. And you see, nice, because I have a lot of questions, bro. Yeah. One thing that you can actually do is I have a link in the description where you can join the newsletter. And what happens is that I have a newsletter specifically for the live streams, and I only send an email every week, let's say on Friday, and I send a form. And in those forms, you can go and put your questions, and you can post several questions. And what happens is that all the questions that I get from the live stream, or all the questions that I get from the newsletter or from those forms, those will be the questions that I start with here, the live streams. So those questions have higher priority. So if you really have some questions that you really need the answer for, I would recommend to join the newsletter. I will not send any product or marketing material. Will be just for the live stream, and you can join there. And I will be sending the forms, and you can put the questions, and those questions will have higher priority compared here with the chat. Because as this live stream grows, now it's usually I don't have too much attendance in the live stream. But as this starts to grow and more people start to come and ask questions, I know that a lot of the questions will be lost in the chat. So if you want to make sure that all of your questions are answered, the best way is through the newsletter. So let's go to the next question. Okay. This one is a really cool question that I like to do, which is how to make thick chords. So a good thing about, and this is a question more for music theory, that I really enjoy to talk about music theory. Because as you know, I have a bunch of books about music theory, and I bought a bunch of books. And actually, let me grab one. And as you can see, it's just in my arm reach to get this course, this book. And I strongly recommend you to buy some courses on music theory. Let me stay out of the frame. Maybe I can put it here. Yeah, maybe. And this is a cool book. To be honest, I think there are more options. I finished this in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I think 2 weeks. And at the end was a little bit hard to read because it had some typos, actually a lot of typos, and the images did not match the entire text. So it's kind of hard to read. But at the beginning, if you are just learning or starting with music theory, I think this is a really cool book to have. And I have this book every time, as you see, at arm's length, because every time that I have a question, for instance, here, this chapter I just opened is the circle of fifths. So every time that I have a question, I can just grab a book and get some of my questions answered in terms of music theory. So let's go to FL Studio so that I can show you what is how to do thick chords. So, and actually we can play around with this morphine. So let's grab a nice preset. Okay, this could work. Now let's go ahead and let's go here to the channel rack. No, actually, let's go to a new pattern. So let's do here a minor chord, C minor, and let's do then C D sharp major. Let's go here. So this very simple chord. So how can we make this chord thicker? So as you see, we have or these two chords thicker. And one thing that I like to use to make them thick is to add more notes. It's very basic, very simple, but it really works when you want to make them thicker. So as you can see, we have C, D sharp, and G. So what we can do is we can start by adding, for instance, another octave of C. So now it's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit more aggressive, I guess. Maybe that could be the best word to describe it. Let's add a G. So now it's getting a little bit more intense. So let's take that off. So as you can see, it's thicker, is more, has more power to it. We can still also go a little bit higher. So let's go, for instance, let's add another G here. And as you can see, of course, this is louder. But if we go ahead and let's take that out. Let's see the difference between this one and this one. So this is thinner, this is thicker. So this is a little bit more, has a little bit more body and also a little bit louder. So if we go to the mixer and if we check let's see here, let's see the volume of the first one and the second one. As you can see, let's start with this one here. We have there. And you see that it's quite of a big difference. So let's bring this down a little bit in volume so that we can match the peak volume of both. Maybe a little bit more. So now if I start this, it's around there. Let's see the other one around. So they have pretty much the same volume now. And as you can see, it sounds a little bit thicker. It sounds more, it has more body to it. Of course, we added some low notes. So a good way to make the chords thicker is to just add lower notes. You don't have to add all of the notes. What I mean, you don't have to have, you don't have to copy the entire chord and then move it 1 octave or 2 octaves down. But what you can do is just add different notes. For instance, this one, let's add D sharp because we already have C, G. Let's add here the D sharp. That doesn't sound that great because it's too low. Let's go with C. So even thicker. Okay, so let's do the same thing here for this one. So we have D sharp. Let's add a D sharp and A sharp. So now we have increase in volume. So let's increase all of the volume of all the notes like that. And let's add also a D sharp here. So now let's listen to all of the notes. So as you can see, this made the chords sound thicker and sound more with more body, more full. So let's listen to the entire with this drum beat. I mean, it's not the best loop, but kind of works. Let's put this in a stretch. And let's add here a waves ultra maximizer. Wait, what's happening here? Waves dynamics ultra maximizer. Just to clip the output so that we don't clip here. But as you can see, let's take this out. So these are thin, and when we add the extra notes, now it makes them thicker. So I think that's it on how to add thick notes to, or how to make the notes thicker, or how to make thick chords. I'm around. My brain is not processing very well today. Let's see, Sammy V. Hi, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I hope you are doing well too. Very good tutorials and live stream. Keep it up. Thank you very much. It's your support that really helps with me getting more motivation to do this stuff. And yeah, the idea here is to help you guys speed up your learning process, to help you be better producers faster. Yes, one question: must the drum loop be in C minor? No, I mean you can pretty much do every chord. So let's say this is, I started. Let's go here. I started this in C minor, but if I'm doing, let's say now if I move this to A, now it's a A minor. You see, so it doesn't matter what chord you use. You just have to take the chord that you started. So for instance, if I move this one up, now it's a A major. Let's actually go to C so that I can exemplify what I mean. So this was a minor, now it's a major. So this is minor, this is major, right? And the difference here is this will work the same because we have here the fifth, and I place also the fifth here down, and then we have C 2 octaves. So if I play this now, it still works because it's dependent, or it's not dependent on the chord. If I move this to C minor, still works also. So as you can see, it's not depending on the chord itself, because this is the concept. So if you want to make your chords thicker, you just you just had lower notes that belong to the chord. So the chord of C minor, it's an easy one to do, which is C, D sharp, and G. But the C major is C, E, and G. So you could add lower notes of one of these three notes to make the chord thicker. So that's the point. Yeah, cool. Nice that you are doing fine also. So let me see here. I think there was one question from Mike. Okay, how can I make slides for the drill beat? You mean slides in a drum beat, or slides on basses and stuff like that? Because this could be a different one. But doing slices is really simple. We can actually do it here. So let's say that I want to do a slice. What you do is click here, as you can see in the hint panel. It's called a slide. And if I put a slide here, and if I double click, you have this button there, or this checkbox there. So if I play this, you see now it's going up. So I can do slides pretty much with everything. As you can see, this goes up, and of course I can always go down. So slides is a really cool thing. You can also do slides in a drum beat. So let's go here, for instance, that's why I also use Slice X. But doing slices on this one, or slides on this one, is not that easy because the drums are very, very short. So because we have a very short attack on this one, it's kind of hard to get the difference of a slide. Because if I do a slide here, you hear it on the snare trom. That's kind of the slide, or the going down of the snare. If I do it on the kick, you don't necessarily hear in the drums, because it's kind of hard to do slides on the drums because they are very short. But in the snare here, you can listen to it better. And of course, you can go higher. As you can see, that stuff. So let's see. So drums can always be in on key. I mean, it depends. One thing that I like to do in the drums is sometimes I don't do this, like match the drums, the notes of the drums with the chords that I'm playing. But it's overall what's the word that I'm looking for? Overall pitch. So if I'm doing a loop or a chord progression and it's based on a C scale or a C minor scale, I want to know that my loops or my drums are kind of more towards C. And I usually try to pitch the loops up and down to try to get that try to get the drums more in tune with the chords or with the drum, with the bass, or with the instruments. But sometimes what I do is, like, I go through a bunch of drums and I usually make a drum loop, and then I start to add chords that sound nice to those drums. So it's not usually the same thing, but I don't focus too much on the chords or the notes of the drums or the pitch of the drums. I focus more. This is more for the pitch of the chords. Okay, so thanks for the questions. Let's see, I have here another one, which is, can you explain Flex? So yeah, let's go and let me show you Flex. Flex is one of my best plugins. One of the plugins that I like the most, not my best plugin because it was not made by me, but is one of my favorite plugins. And just a side note, you can change the layout of Flex by double clicking here on the name. So if I double click, you see that now we have yellow knobs or white knobs. If I double click again, we have a kind of brown layout. If I double click again, we have the brown layout with the white knobs. So it's really nice. You can go through a couple of presets here or a couple of layouts. If you like I actually like this brownish color. So yeah, that's just how can I say? Just a quick, a nice tip to give about Flex. So what is Flex? Flex is a sample-based synth, and it has, I think it's a synth also. There are some synth functionalities on the back, but it's a sample-based plugin mostly. And as you can see, there are a bunch of free packs that come with Flex that I really enjoy. And Mike is saying Flex. Yes, I'm flexing Flex. You can see that the store has a couple of presets or a couple of sound banks that you can buy. I have a couple that I bought. I cannot tell them which one are, but I really like them, and you have a bunch of them. One other thing that I like to do is I go to here all, and then you go to tags, and then you can start typing some of it. You can type some of types. For instance, let's say that I just want bells, and I want a dark bell. So this one sounds nice. But you can see, you can really fine tune your search or your presets to just get some of the things that you are looking for. Let's say you need some dark brass. This is more, I can see this for more type of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Those styles that are very dubstep and stuff like that, that has this bass, crazy bass stuff. But as you can see, there are a bunch of presets here that we can take advantage of. And this is one of the things that I really like to do. I go to all and then tags and start adding some tags that I want. Let's say that I want some keys, or let's go to piano and let's do a hard piano. I like these hard ones. Let's bring the volume a little bit down. Okay, so that I don't blast your ears and mine. But as you can see, okay, some really cool patterns. Then we have here some analysis. So if I click on the notes, we can see that we have oscilloscope. We can have a spectrum analyzer also. And what is this one? This one is a vector scope, and then we have a spectrogram, which is pretty much the same that we can have here. We can also have a spectrogram there to have in here. And then we have the macros, and this is really cool because these macros, you cannot control what these macros do, but you can control the macros themselves. So let's say that I want to add some chorus. I can just go here and add some chorus. If I want to add some tremolo, or I have to also add the tremolo rate. I can also add some vibrato. No, I prefer tremolo. So as you can see, this is the macros basically control some of the parameters of the sounds here in the Flex or the presets. And then we have some pitch here that we can go up 2 octaves and down 2 octaves, which is really cool. Okay. Then we have the filter section here. And one thing that I really like about Flex is that if you lock one of these presets, and let's lock these two, if I change, let's say that I put this in a higher octave. Let's put a full octave. And I lock this here. If I change the preset, you see that these parameters are locked the same. And I really like that. So let's say that you have some configurations for the filter that you like a cutoff and stuff like that. You can just select or lock the parameters and the envelopes, and you will have that for every single preset that you select. So if I go back to piano, I still have the same parameters that I set here, which is really, really cool. I think it's one of the coolest features that I've seen, because sometimes I have a preset that I like or some effect that I like, and I would like to keep that effect, but browse through the presets that I have. And that's not possible. But here with Flex, you can just lock stuff and then go through the presets and have the same effect that you just added. So let's say that you want to have, you like reverb, a lot of reverb. You can lock this and then go through the presets and have a lot of reverb in all your presets. And I think that's something really, really cool. Then we have here envelope. So we have attack, hold, decay, sustain, and release for the filter. And then we also have that for the volume envelope. So this will control the output volume, and this will control the filter response. Then we have here a master filter that we can apply a bunch of filters here, and maybe basically this adds some kind of cutoff here, and this is a low pass filter. Then we have delay, reverb, and a limiter so that we can limit or we can add distortion and so on. So this limiter section, I would assume, is more like a compression / limiter, and we can have some different presets here, or different vibes for or different types. Today my English is really, really bad, sorry. But yeah, we can have different types of compression or limiter to get a different effect. And yeah, I think that's it. Of course, there's a bunch more to this, but you would have to go into more detail, and this is just a high overview level of Flex, but it's one of the plugins that I like the most. And FL Studio just released Essential Bass. Let me take all the tags. Just Essential Bass Guitars and Essential Guitars, and these are free packs that you can you have with your FL Studio version, and this is really, really cool. And these packs here sound really, really nice, as you can see, and the guitars also sound really cool. Let's unlock the reverb. Even electric metal chords and stuff like these power chords, they sound really, really cool. As you can see, this can give a more human vibe to your guitars. And this was hard in FL Studio. In FL Studio, we used to have, if we wanted to use guitars, we used to have the guitar plugin. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know the name. Fruity. I don't know if they still have it in the selection. Let's see. I don't know the name. Do you guys remember the name of the guitar plugin that we had in FL Studio? I don't remember, but you used to have a plugin that was a emulation of a guitar, and I think they removed it. Slayer, FL Slayer. Here it is. So this is what we had for guitars or electric guitars. As you can see, not bad, but still not the best guitar plugin ever. And now with these Essential Guitars, we have way more and way better and way more natural guitars than this Slayer. And I don't think you can even find here in the section the Fruity Slayer anymore. So I think they kind of put that in the back burner, and maybe in the future will be discontinued, like Fruity Slicer. I hope one day. Just kidding. Kidding, but not kidding. Okay, so I wait for some trance sounds to play with Flex. I call it Flexus. This is a nice name, actually. A nice name for Flex. That's really cool. So yeah, thanks for your questions and your feedback here in the chat. I have here another question. I have actually two questions, and I think I should answer at least this last one, which is, what plugins should I buy to make great music? So this is a really cool question, because it's like, sometimes you might find that FL Studio has all the tools that you need to make music, make great music. And it depends a little bit on the genre. For instance, to make hip hop, sometimes it's hard to just use the plugins from FL Studio to make great hip hop tracks. And I say this because for a long time, I just used FL Studio plugins and all these free plugins that were available in the market. I didn't have money to buy third-party plugins. So for a long time, I just used the native plugins from FL Studio. And I mean, nowadays with Flex, it's way, way better. But at the time when, I don't know, maybe five years ago, it was hard to make really cool hip-hop tracks with just FL Studio plugins. So it took me a while to be able to get some money and buy some plugins. Nowadays, I have a bunch of them. And I like those, and I'm not looking to buy too much more plugins because the tools that I have are enough to make the music that I like and the music that I want. Of course, I always want to go and get better stuff, but I think there's a threshold that you reach that you don't necessarily have to always keep buying plugins. But one of the plugins that I would say it's my favorite for making especially hip hop or more what's the word that I'm looking for, beats or productions that use natural sounds like pianos, brasses, strings, stuff like that. Not these electronic type of music like techno or EDM or house that use, maybe house still use some pianos and stuff and strings, but EDM and techno uses a lot of synths, a lot of effects and stuff like that. So I'm talking more about those other type of music that uses more samples, pianos, strings, and stuff like that. I don't want to say that synths are not natural, which they are, but I think you get the point what I'm saying, hopefully. But going back to the question, one of the plugins that I would, is like my first choice to recommend, is actually from Air and is called Expand 2. I can tell you that when I got this plugin, I actually got a bunch of them. I bought the entire section or the entire preset for them. So there's DB3, Hybrid, Loom, Mini Grand, Strike, Structure, which I really like, also Structure and Strike. Transfuser, Derizer, Vacuum Pro, Velvet, and Expand 2. But I can tell you that from all these plugins, the one that I go the most is Expand 2, and it's not very expensive. I think this plugin, all of the plugins that I bought from Air, I think it cost me like 80 euros. So it was, at the time, for me, was a lot of money, and still is, but it was something that I couldn't afford at the time, and or that I had to wait to get. And the first time that I had some money to buy these plugins, I think I was happy for, I don't know, maybe 5 months, just bringing this plugin all the time. And the good thing about Expand 2 is that, as you can see, there are a bunch of presets. So we have soft pads, bright pads, huge pads, action pads. We have synth brass. We have percussive elements. We have leads. We have acoustic pianos. These acoustic pianos sound really cool. We have electric pianos, organs, strings, vocals. The vocals here also sound really, really nice. Let me give you an example. As you can see, it sounds really, really cool. They have a bunch of stuff. The strings, there's a preset here that I really love about strings. Let me see. I think let me see if I can find it. Drama strings. Now this works more like this. Sometimes my keyboard just crashes, but yeah, as you can see, we have a lot of stuff. We have what else? Mallets, bells, guitars, hits, basses, loops. I mean, I think if you were to buy just a single plugin, or if I were to say just give me a single plugin, this will be the one. Expand 2, because with this we can do a lot of music, and you have pretty much all the sounds that you need. And this is now, it's very expensive. I think it costs like 14 euros or something like that. And I think it's a really cool thing to buy. And I would say this is my favorite plugin of all time so far, because it's very complete, it's easy to work with, and it's very cheap. And yeah. Okay, guys, I think I have all the questions for today. So it's already 7 in 10. So we've been doing this for 1 hour and 10 minutes. First of all, I will be doing these live streams. I want to say that I will be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT +2, which is the Berlin time. I'm located in Stuttgart, Germany. So if you want to see when will be 6 p.m. in your time zone, you can just Google it and see the difference compared with Stuttgart or Berlin. That will be the same, which is GMT +2. And yeah, the idea for these live streams is just to gather all of your questions and answer them here in FL Studio, so that I can help you speed up your learning process and help you guys become better producers faster. And I also have a link in the description so that you can go ahead and subscribe. I will be sending forms in that newsletter, and I will not be sending any marketing material, any product, any stuff to buy. For that, I have the other newsletters on the website dailybits.pt. But this one is just for these live streams, and I will be sending on every Friday. I will be sending a form that you can go and put. It's a Google form. You can put the questions there, and those questions will have priority here. So if you put questions in the chat, I will try to answer them. But the questions that I have prepared from the forms will have a higher priority, and I will make sure that those questions are answered first. So if you have a lot of questions, go ahead and put your name in the newsletter, so that you can make sure that you receive the forms, and you can post your questions so that I can make sure that those questions are answered and you get all of your questions answered by me as best as I can. Let me see. There's another one here from Mike. I'm still using FL Native. I'm forced to learn plugins deeply to come up with great sounds. It's tedious, but I enjoy it, and it's very satisfying when you get good making sound you're looking for. Yeah, man. I think that's one of the things that I always say when I talk about this stuff is you have a lot of cool tools. You can do pretty much everything with FL Studio. There will be a time in the future when you grow as a producer that you will be able to do extra stuff. For instance, I do beats in FL Studio, but whenever I want to do mixing, I go to Studio One, because I already have the knowledge, so that I look now for the workflow, which tool gives me the best workflow that I like. So now I can jump between stuff like I make a beat in FL Studio, then I export the stems, and I go to Studio One to mix it. And that works for me. Why? Because I've been doing this in FL Studio for, I don't know, maybe 15 years that I've been using FL Studio. But when I started doing this YouTube channel, I was like, I'm not going to use any software that I do not pay for. And I bought a copy of FL Studio the first day that I started my YouTube channel, and that was it. And for several number of years or months, I just used the plugins that I have, but that gave me a lot of knowledge, because I had to work with what I had, and at the time that gave me also a lot of understanding of the plugins, and gave me a lot of insight over the concepts of music production. Let's see. It's cool what you're doing. Keep up. Thanks. The idea here is to help you guys become better producers and share my knowledge, so that I can help you achieve a higher level of pro efficiency. And as you know, this channel is Master the Software, so that it's just you and music. And I think that's the best feeling, at least for me. It's like when I open FL Studio and I start making music, it's just me and FL Studio and my music ideas, and everything else goes away. And I think that's the one of the best feelings that I have is when I just open up FL Studio and start making music. Everything else goes away, so it's just me and music. And for that, to reach that point, you have to be a master in FL Studio. You don't have to know every single parameter, but you have to know the basics really, really well. And I think that's the concept here that I want to share with you guys, and make sure that you or help you out in your journey. Because if I had something like this when I started, believe me, I would be a way better producer than I am today. So I think that's it. Again, thanks for all of your questions and all of your feedback here in the chat. I really appreciate that. I really like your feedback and your communication, because that helps me understand what you guys need and what you are looking for, so that I can better feed the content to you guys. That's it. Thank you. My name is Tiago Duarte, and thank you all for joining and participating, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.